The legislation itself was pushed, in the last 2 weeks of the year, as we all know, and the legislation that came out, what people don't understand is it was 1,000 pages long. So, we had a lot of people calling, clients calling, wanting to know exactly what they needed to do. And again, as you said, it was very difficult to sort of digest 1,000 pages in basically 2 days and come up with planning ideas. There were definitely some standouts that were glaring, and we were able to advise on that. But one of the things that we really didn't have a lot of information on was the prepayment of real estate taxes. And so what we were doing, or what a lot of advisors were doing when they were advising their clients to prepay real estate taxes and state income taxes, and then sure enough, a few days later, or a week later, the IRS came back with a directive and essentially said if the real estate taxes were not assessed, then they would deny the deduction for prepayment. So it was things like that there were sort of these last minute kind of scrambles to figure out. Also, we scrambled with trying to figure out what the 2017 income tax liability was going to be and whether we should tell clients to prepay state income tax because as you may know, the state income tax deduction is going to be limited to $10,000. And so for some people, it made a lot of sense to prepay their fourth quarter in 2017. But again, you don't always know what 2017 will look like because if the taxpayer is an AMT, but having done that would not have benefited them. But we did the best we could with the information we had and tried to be as aggressive as possible with planning. I think some of the key areas are obviously we're talking a lot about the change to corporate income tax. The income tax rate for corporations is now down to 21%. So we're spending a lot of time having discussions around whether it makes sense to convert to a corporation if you're an S Corp or an LLC. And again, a great deal of analysis is needed in order to really come up with a definitive answer as it relates to that. There's a lot of sort of pros and cons, not only from a tax perspective, but also from a business operational standpoint. And you can't always let the tax piece of it sort of drive the overriding business decisions. So we're talking a lot about that. Mortgage interest has created a problem for some of our clients, and it's definitely an area of concern. For some people, the limitation is now down to $750,000. And so that creates an issue for some taxpayers whereby if their mortgage is higher than that, they're not able to deduct the mortgage interest. There have been reductions to the individual income tax rates, but again, there's also been takeaways to the itemized deductions. And so what that leads us to believe at this point is that we will not see, particularly at the higher income levels, we won't see significant tax reductions. And if anything, we might even see tax increases for certain taxpayers.